Hi, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today's video I'm going to have a little look at using TTL versus manual when you're using a speed light. Doesn't matter whether it's on camera or off camera, and I'll have a little look at both of them today. There's always a little bit of confusion about which one to use. So manual literally means manual, and you have complete control over everything, whereas TTL means through the lens. So what that essentially means is it's using the light meter from your camera to balance out the lighting for the shot, not necessarily what your light meter or what you set it manually. So let's have a little look at both of them. I've got a scene set up behind me and I'll show you that. So this is just a little setup in my studio. I have got overhead constant light on just at the moment for recording. I've got my camera on my tripod. I've got a little scene. I have got my Godox AD200 Pro set up with a strip box, and I've got the X3 trigger on my camera. And what I have done is I have got it set up on TTL. So this is on TTL, that's on TTL, everything's on TTL, and I'm going through the back of my camera. So if I can show you some shots. So this is on the back of my camera, and this is literally just off the live view, and you can see what I'm picking up there when I zoom out. So I've currently got it on TTL and I've got it on +1, and I can change that. So you can see where it's got TTL here. And if I want to change that, so I can go up or down, and I can drag that up and it goes to +3, or I can go negative. Okay, so that's on TTL at 0. I've got my ISO on 100, I'm on f5.6, and my shutter speed is on 1/125th. If I take a shot, it looks pretty dark. If I jump my TTL up 1 stop, so it's 1 stop, that was at 0. If I go up to 2 stops, so it's 2 stops, 1 stop, 0. You see how you can jump it up by using that. It's just a quick and easy way to do it. Now I could switch everything over to manual, and I can set it myself by using a light meter or just by my eye. That's fine too. And I will set some up here, but I just wanted to go through how to change it from using the TTL. You can use the light meter in your camera. Okay, so likewise, if I switch over to AP mode and I have my TTL set on 0, I can use the exposure compensation. So if I go round to 0, and I can take one and go round to 3. So if I look, so that's at 3, 2, 1, no, that must have been 0, that must have been 0, 1, 2. So you can either play around with the exposure compensation, or you can play around with the TTL. So I've actually got the TTL on +3, and I've got the exposure compensation on +3. And my shot is probably not very well balanced. So I would choose one over the other. So that's the TTL with the off-camera flash. Now if I switch this over to manual, okay, so this is currently on TTL at the moment, so let's switch over to manual. So I've switched my camera over to manual, and if I just click on the TTL, I'm now on manual mode. It's easier to, in my opinion, it's easier to shoot with the camera on manual if you've got your flash or speed light on manual. So I'll switch the Godox Pro 2 over to manual, and I've got the trigger on manual, and here I can go through. So I have got, I'll go through the settings of my camera at the moment, but if I want to change this up or down, there's a little button on the side and I can just scroll that. So it's full power, half power, quarter, eighth, 16th, etc, etc, etc. So let's just try that on half power for the moment, and I'm going to pop that back up. So my settings are back to 1/125th of a second, f5.6, and I'm on ISO 100. So I'm just going to take a shot with that and preview that. And it's not too bad. It could probably go up a little bit in power. So that's just a matter of coming over to here, and I'm going to go up to full power, just do a little test shot. And that's too much. So I was on half power before and now I'm on full power. So I'm going to go to half power plus 7, and that's still too much. So half power plus 3, and that's looking pretty good. I probably would like to, I've got shadow in this corner here, which I've got a reflector here, but I don't think it's doing much. So I'm going to bring that reflector over. And that's still not doing a lot. Because I've got my video light on, it's probably not doing me any favours when it comes to my lighting on this. So I will turn it off in a minute and I'll take some other shots and I'll show you what they look like. Basically, I'm pretty happy with that. So it doesn't matter whether you're using manual or TTL, I find it's pretty easy to use. So let's switch over and have a little look at an on-camera flash. Okay, so I've got my little Mica flash for Sony. This is a Speedlight MK320, and this will actually do TTL or manual. So I can change the metering on that, so I can have it as +1, +3, -1, -3, etc, etc. It's saying it's picked up that I'm on f5.6 as my aperture, and then I can take a shot. Now I am a little bit of a distance from what I'm shooting, and this isn't a very powerful flash, but let's have a go and see what happens. Okay, so I have got it on TTL, I've got it on 0. I'm going to take a shot, and it's pretty dark as I suspected. So I'm going to go into set, and I'm going to try putting it up 1, and that's a little bit better. Because I'm shooting straight on and it's pretty harsh and all the rest of it, it's sort of a bit harder with an on-camera flash, so I need to go set. I usually use this one for macro, and I'll show you another flash that I've got, which is actually really good, but it doesn't do TTL. This one does both, so I thought I'd show it. So using an on-camera flash straight ahead at something like this isn't probably doing me any favours. So if I go into mode, and I'm now on manual mode on full power, I'm going to switch my camera back to manual because I was on aperture priority, and that is way blown out at 100%. So I'm going to drop my, so that's on full power, so that's on 1/128, which barely registered. So half, I'm going to try 16, see how that goes. I'm not using a light meter. Let's try quarter power. Probably need to just go to half power, I would say. Okay, let's try again, and that's not too bad. It's just a little hard working with such a harsh light in the studio like this, and I've got the video light on. This is really good for working outdoors, and this is why I bought it. I have got another little mini flash, which is this one from Godox. If I can show you that, which is the IM30 flash. So I'm going to switch flashes out and then we'll play with that one. Okay, so this is the Godox IM30. It's got your power button on and off there, and you can test it there. Just blinded myself. You've also got slave 1, slave 2, and this is your dial. If you want to shoot TTL, this is not going to be the little flash for you, but if you like to shoot manual and you just want something that's really small and cheap and you can throw it in your pocket and it's easy to use, this is actually pretty cool. You've got your little dial there, so you can go from full power all the way through to 64 power. You just need to change the dial. And that's pretty much it. So let's set it up and take a shot and see how we go. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that my screen is black. What I will need to do on this flash, I didn't need to on the other one, is I need to go into my live view display and turn that off. And now I can see what I'm doing. So if you have a problem with not being able to see what you're shooting when you're using a flash, check out, so it's live view display or live view simulation, depending on what brand that you're working with. So you need to sometimes turn that off, especially with studio strobes and things like that. So this one, I'm just going to set my focus point up. I'm just going to take a shot. Still on ISO 100, f5.6 and 1/125th. And it's way blown out. So let's try quarter power. See how much brighter this was than the other flash. Oh, now we've gone too far. Okay, so I probably need to go in between. So that was 132. That's not too bad. I probably need to have be in closer, be up higher, etc. So just taking this outside, and I was playing around with it. So this was a shot that I took with the flash, and this is without the flash. And as you can see, it's not really that dark in here. There's bright sunlight there, and I'm just shooting in the shadows. So just even turning the flash on here, whether it's a manual flash like the Godox one, or whether you're using a speedlight like the AD200, then you can play around with using manual or TTL and really have some fun, whether it's in the studio or out of the studio. I thought I would go through some of the images in Lightroom. So this was using the Godox AD200, and I was sort of mucking around, moving light around, and just generally playing with the light, trying to get it as I wanted it. So that one's just a little bit blown out. And just pottering around with my setting there. Then what I did was I started switching over to a couple of the other little flashes. This, I think, is the Mika flash where I had it blown out, and then I was playing around. So that's actually not too bad. I can fix that up in post. So that's just had a bit of a crop and a tidy, and just going through all the different ones. So look, you really can't tell by looking at the photos whether you used TTL or manual. It's all about exposing correctly for your scene. If you are using TTL, it can be a little bit easier to figure that one out. So if I was to just come in and crop that. So obviously the light from the softbox is actually better light or better quality of light than the little flashes, and I have more control over that. So it's still quite easy to switch over, and you can use various different flashes It really doesn't make that much difference. And of course, these are the ones from the Godox, which is a much stronger flash than that little Mika flash, but it does not do TTL. But if you're happy to stick with manual, then this is a great flash to use. And then of course I finished off with those two that I did outside, so that's with the flash on as a fill light in the shadows, and these are the same settings but without the flash turned on. So it's pretty simple, the difference that using a flash can make, whether you go for TTL or whether you go for manual. Both are fine. So that's it for TTL versus manual. They're both great. They both have their uses. I do tend to use manual more than I use TTL because I find I have more control. But if I'm out and about and I've just got my little flash on and I'm doing macro outside, TTL's great. When I'm in a teaching situation or I'm running a workshop, I find that TTL is just way too confusing for the lights with so many different cameras, so many different settings. I always use manual when I am teaching or running a workshop. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And of course, and check out some of the other videos on lighting and flashes in the playlist. And I'll see you next time on YouTube. Bye for now.